Waking up to a loud ringing phone really annoyed Tsukishima. It was something that he never wanted to wake up to. Letting out a groan, Suki reached for his phone and checked who was calling him. It was his mother. Crap, something must have come up. Getting up from his bed, Tsukishima answered the call and walked over to the closet in his dorm room. "Hello, mother. What did I do this time for you to call me?" The blonde questioned, grabbing fresh clothes, placing them down on his bed. "What makes you think I've called today? Because you did something?" his mother asked. Tsukishima sighed, shaking his head as he put the call on speaker. "Do I have to re-explain every single time you call?" he spoke, pulling off his loose white t-shirt. He replaced it with a simple deep crimson buttoned-up shirt. His mother sighed. "I've called because your father has some news for you. News that I know you won't be too fond of. Kay, your father and I are heading to where you are. We'd like to meet with you," his mother said. Tsukishima could tell that she wasn't so happy about this either. It wasn't what someone would say, a mother who doesn't want to see her son, but it was more so that she felt bad for her son for what upcoming news. Tsukishima pulled on his black jeans, finally grabbing his phone and turning off the speaker. "Can't he just tell me through a message, or even a call?" Tsukishima asked. Silence. That was his answer, completely and utter silence. He knew what that meant. He knew it too well. Whenever his mother did that, whenever Tsukishima would ask such things, he knew it meant no. Letting out a small sigh, the blonde gave a small okay. "When are you coming?" "Today. We'll be arriving in 3 hours," his mother responded. "What? Why so soon?" Tsukishima questioned. "Your father seems to be very excited about the news. Take that as a warning, Kay." The blonde let out a groan as he stared up at the ceiling. He hasn't seen his father in years. He didn't want to know the news. He nodded, the two saying a few more things to each other before the call indeed. He shoved his phone into the back pocket of his jeans, deciding to clean his dorm before heading for the airport in the next 2 hours and a half. He decided to start in his room, then move further into the dorm. As he cleaned, Tsukishima couldn't help but think about a specific ravinette. They've talked a few times, sending little texts to each other every now and then. Tsukishima has gone to the cafe every single day ever since he first saw that boy. One would say he was in love. But how? Love at first sight was how. However, it was obvious that he didn't completely believe in love at first sight. To Tsukishima, it should take a good amount of time before you are in love. Both people would need to know each other, have some things in common, get along. Sure, Tsukishima and Kageyama have some things in common. However, it hasn't been that long since they met. Plus, he's famous. He can't risk anything. He didn't want Kageyama to be dragged into such things. Tsukishima sighed, going into the living room. There wasn't anything to pick up in the living room and the kitchen. There was about 2 hours left. He decided to head out and walk around campus, talk to some people, pass some time before he has to pick up his parents from the airport. Maybe even go to that cafe, wondering if Kageyama was there right now. He had to get that ravinette out of his mind. Tsukishima believed that to do so, he had to get out and interact with other people, get his mind off of things, relax, let loose a little, like some would say. Letting out a sigh, the blonde left his dorm room and walked towards the center of his university. There were a lot of people there. Many were sitting at the round tables talking with each other. Tsukishima walked up to some of his classmates. He's talked to them before for group projects, and sometimes talked to them slightly. They bumped into each other. Tsukishima, "Hey, you finally decided to leave your cave. I see," one of the boys said. "Yeah, I suppose so. It's gotten quite boring there now that my roommate moved," Tsukishima spoke. Some of the girls there were a beetroot red as they stared at the blonde. The boys were chatting away with the blonde, having a splendid time. 2 hours really could pass by quickly when you're simply talking. Tsukishima had to leave sooner than he would have liked, though he would never admit that. Saying goodbye to his classmates, Tsuki left campus and called over a cab. His parents were going to land in 20 minutes, dread washing over him. The simple thought of his father having news for him terrified Tsukishima, who knew what that man had planned. There was no saying. His father was always filled with surprises. However, there was no way that the blonde could get out of this one. His parents were flying from wherever they were to where Tsukishima is. His father must have some pretty darn good news for him. Tsukishima let out a quiet groan as he saw the airport, thanking the driver as he left the cab. After handing the money to the man, Tsuki waited outside the building for his parents, looking up at the blue sky, staring at the white fluffy clouds. "Tsukishima, is that really you?" a familiar voice asked. The blonde turned to his right, seeing a particular ravinette. "Kageyama. Hey, I didn't think I would see you here. What are you doing here?" Tsukishima asked. Kag smiled, walking up to the blonde. "Two of my aunts are here. My parents are over there waiting for them. I saw you from the corner of my eye. I didn't know if I was just delusional or something." He giggled. "I thought I just missed you or something." Tsukishima smiled at that. There was a light pink tint spreading across the blonde's face, becoming flustered over time. Kageyama took notice, looking down at the ground as he softly smiled. "Tobio, they're here," the Ravinette sister yelled. Kags looked up, turning to see his aunts. "Oh, look at that. I've got to get going now. Maybe we could bump into each other again in that cafe later." He smiled. Tsukishima chuckled, nodding. As the Ravinette left, Tsuki's parents exited the airport. "Oh, it's been so long since I've seen you," his mother exclaimed. "Hi Mom." "Hello Father," he greeted. His mother seemed to be quite happy to finally see him after so many years. His father, on the other hand, had a shit-eating grin plastered on his face. He knew that his father was about to make his life more of a living hell than it already was. "We should go grab a cab. My dorm room is a little too small for 3 people. There's a park nearby though," Tsukishima said. His mother gladly agreed, his father not saying a single word. The whole ride to the park was an uncomfortable silence. He wanted this day to end already. He wanted them gone. He didn't want them here. Tsukishima just wanted to be with Kageyama, stare at his face, his blue eyes, his dorky smile, his stupid black hair. He would easily pick spending a day with that Ravinette over his own parents. Tsukishima really hoped that he would coincidentally run into Kageyama again. To be continued.